Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Dear brothers and sisters in Islam, we welcome you all to the series Islam, a Simple Way of Life. For today we have a question which is related to Ramadan, and I hope this would be beneficial over any other questions for today. The question for today is, how many rakahs of Taraweeh one has to offer during the nights of Ramadan? Is it 8 or 20 rakahs? Well, we are actually approaching Ramadan, inshallah, in this week. Either it would be the Thursday night or the Friday night in India. So when we are actually approaching the night of Ramadan, like we earlier saw in one of the questions, where it is absolutely permissible for one to offer the salah, the congregational salah, in their home. More than that, when it comes to the salah, which is like the sunnah salahs of the Islam, it is highly recommended for one to offer that at their home. So Prophet Muhammad has mandated us to offer the mandatory salah, the 5-time mandatory salah in the masjid. However, he has given an importance of offering the obligatory salah in their home. He further on went to say that do not make your house as the graveyard by not offering the obligatory salah in your home. So it is of immense importance in Islam that one has to basically offer some amount of obligatory prayer during their whenever they stay in their home, apart from the 5-time prayer. So now the question here is, now since we are approaching Ramadan, and in Ramadan the main thing, the worship which is taught, or rather we have been told, is to adopt to that Taraweeh, what has been practiced in the masajid. So what does that imply? That the question here is it mandatory for one to offer 20 rakahs of Taraweeh or 8 rakahs of Taraweeh? This is the question for today. Before we get into the question, I wanted to basically clarify one of the misnomer about Islam here, and I think that's very important for the question as well. Firstly, the word Taraweeh is not established in any of the authentic sources of the book, neither the book of Allah nor in any authentic traditions of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is one thing what we have to understand first. So when somebody asks you about Taraweeh, the first and the foremost question we should ask them is that, so there is no mention of, you can't even find the word Taraweeh in any of the authentic texts narrated by the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, nor in the book of Allah. So this is one thing which we should actually understand. So how does this word come into picture? Taraweeh is not actually, it does not have a, you don't even find a word in any of the authentic text. However, in the practice of the Muslim community, people take this word Taraweeh for granted, and they assume that this Taraweeh is one special prayer which has to be offered during the night of Ramadan. And because of which, people actually have unanimously agreed upon a number of rakahs which has to be offered during the night of Ramadan to be at 20 rakahs. So firstly, we should understand whether is there any special prayer during the month of Ramadan. So that is something which we need to clarify. Firstly, any prayer what we do in terms of an obligatory prayer is actually has to basically have a root from the tradition of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So we cannot deem something which is sunnah of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, where Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam neither did that one, nor did he basically allow that one, nor did he actually practice that one, right? So neither Prophet, so it should at least have any one of the root. Either Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam should have told us to do that, or rather commanded us to do that. Secondly, at least Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam has done it in his life. Thirdly, at least Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam has allowed somebody doing that, right? So these are the three basic tenets upon which all the hadiths are actually built upon. So hadith has to fall in one of these three categories. Either it has to be the qawl, it has to be the commandment of Prophet Muhammad, or it has to be the action of Prophet Muhammad, or at least it has to have a recommendation of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Either of these three fall into a bucket called as hadith. Now, considering this 20 rakahs of salah during the month of Ramadan, did Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam teach an extra ibadah during the night of Ramadan? And the answer is no to this one. So I am sure it will be an astonishing or a surprising factor for all of us to hear this one, but that's the truth. That's the fact. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam did not teach any special kind of worship during the month of Ramadan. However, just wait, hold on. However, that doesn't mean that we are not allowed to perform any night salah during the month of Ramadan. Though Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam has not taught us specifically any deed to be any worship to be performed during the night of Ramadan, however, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam has emphasized the Salatul Layl during the night of Ramadan. You get my point, right? So there is no special prayer during the night of Ramadan. However, the normal special prayer which we do after the after the Sunnah of Isha, after the Isha Salah, whatever prayer we do in the night, and that's called as Salatul Layl. Salatul Layl means the prayer of the night. Layl means night, and Salat means we know it's prayer. So Salatul Layl refers to prayer of the night. So it also has another name, interestingly called as Qiyamul Layl. So Qiyam is a posture in the Salah where we stand for a long duration. When you say Qiyamul Layl, so the standing posture is predominant here. So you don't tend to offer small rakats here. Rather, you spend more time standing than doing any other things in the Salah. So this is called as Qiyamul Layl. So this also refers to the same set of Salah. Thirdly, it is also referred to as Salatul Witr, because in the end, when this the total rakats of the night prayer is established, the total number accounts to an odd number. That's why it's also called as Salatul Witr. So now we know there are three names. One is Salatul Witr, the Salatul Layl, Qiyamul Layl, and Salatul Witr. So these are the three names in the whenever we talk about the night prayer, which is being done as an obligatory prayer, not part of any mandatory prayer. Right? It also has a fourth word, and which is actually called as Tahajjud. The word Tahajjud is actually denoting the prayer which is usually performed during the last third portion of the night. When you divide the night into three portions, the last portion of the night, which is as close as to the Salah of Fajr, that portion is called as, whenever a Salah is offered during that portion of the night, it is called as Tahajjud. So now we have, we understood that there are four words for this one. One is Salatul Layl, number two Qiyamul Layl, number three Salatul Witr, and number four Tahajjud. Now all these four words actually denote to only one single set of Salah. So these four are not too different. Though it is called by four different names, all these four names actually denote one set of Salah which is actually performed after the, so you have a Sunnah before Isha and after Isha. So after the Sunnah of after Isha, there's two rakats of Sunnah what you perform after Isha. From there until the pre-Sunnah of Fajr. So this time portion is called as night. And whatever Salah you offer during this time can be denoted by these four names. Right? Clear? So now coming back to that, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, though he did not mention any special prayer during the night of Ramadan, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam has indicated us, has given an emphasis on the Salatul Layl in several occasions. For example, once Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam has told us, "Man qama Ramadana imanan wa ikhtisaban, ghufira lahu ma taqaddama min dhanbihi." So Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, whoever offers the standing prayer, like I told you, right, Qiyamul Layl, Man qama Ramadan. So whoever stands up during the night of Ramadan and offers the Salah with true intention, imanan wa ikhtisaban, with true belief and with the true anticipation of the gift of Allah, those are the people who would be rewarded by forgiving all their sins, or whatever the past sins they have committed, it's all forgiven. It's like taken for granted from them. So this is an emphasis of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that though this prayer can be offered in non-Ramadan days as well, however, when we offer the same amount of prayer during the Ramadan nights, it has multiple benefits, which is referred by Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now, interestingly, I would also like to quote another hadith of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, where it is narrated by Abu Salma bin Abdul Rahman. And this hadith goes on like this. So I asked Aisha, the believer of the mother of the believer, how is the prayer of Allah's Messenger during the month of Ramadan? So for that, when the question was posed to Aisha radiallahu anha as to how was the prayer of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam during the night of Ramadan, we all know that Aisha radiallahu anha is known for her intellect, right? So she is most sharp in understanding the religion and teaching the religion to the Sahaba Ikrams. So when the question was actually thrown at Aisha radiallahu anha as to how was the night salah of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam during the month of Ramadan, Aisha radiallahu anha actually narrates the way how Prophet Muhammad used to pray in the non-Ramadan days as well. So Aisha radiallahu anha says that Allah's Messenger never exceeded 11 rak'ah in Ramadan or in other months. You got that point, right? So Aisha radiallahu anhu, because she knows Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam so close, nobody else can know Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam so close as the way how Aisha radiallahu anha knows him. So she goes on to say that Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to offer 11 rakats, not more than 11 rakats, during the night of Ramadan and in the other months as well. So it is not specific to Ramadan. Even during other times of the other days of the month, Aisha radiallahu anhu says that Prophet Muhammad would not exceed 11 rakats. Okay, so this is one authentic tradition. Now going by this tradition, now we have to understand what these 11 rakats are. So these 11 rakats are actually broken down into 8 rakats of Salatul Layl or Qiyamul Layl, right? 8 rakats of Salatul Layl plus 3 rakats of Fitr. So 8 plus 3 becomes 11. Now coming back to the actual question, is it what has been taught by Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Is it 8 rakats during the night of Ramadan or 20 rakats during the night of Ramadan? This question is actually been answered with this particular hadith. However, there is one exception where when Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu stayed in the house of Maimuna radiallahu anha. She is again another mother of the believer. When they both stayed in the house of Maimuna radiallahu anha, at that time Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was seen to observe 13 rakats of salah. So 10 rakats of salah plus 3 rakats of fitr. So the maximum amount of salah where one could offer during the night of a Ramadan or a non-Ramadan is maximum of 13 rakats, and that's the maximum. Now coming back to the question, so now some people are actually offering 20 rakats of salah. I wouldn't say some, actually most of the people are offering 20 rakats of salah. Now we need to introspect ourselves to identify which has an actual authentic source from the Sunnah of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Is it to offer 8 rakats of salah or is it to offer 20 rakats of salah? And the answer would be to stick or adhere to the Sunnah of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which is 8 rakats, or at the max it could be like 10 rakats plus 3 rakats of fitr. So that is the ruling on Islam where one should not offer more than 13 rakats of salah during the night of Ramadan. And like I told you initially, there is no specific prayer during the month of Ramadan. So this is a normal prayer where one could actually offer during the time when they perform the post sunnah of Isha until the pre sunnah of Fajr. This time is actually considered as night in Islam. In the night prayer is actually split across this whole portion, and the maximum rakats of salah one can offer is only 13 rakats. Now people will also have a doubt whether, what is harm in doing more rakats of salah? After all, we are actually worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is why Allah created us. So this would be going on in some people's mind. But for them, I would like to remind you a hadith from Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and I am sure inshallah that will benefit you all. Once Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was talking to the Sahabas, and he was saying that la yudkhil al jannata amalahul jannah. So when Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was saying, none of you will basically enter into the Jannah. None of you would enter into the Jannah by your deeds. Based on your deeds, none of you would be actually marked to be enter into the Jannah. And Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was not talking among the ordinary crowd, not like the Muslims who are lazy in doing the worship. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was addressing this in front of the Sahabas who are actually known to go beyond their limits, go beyond their capacity to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They spend their whole life, they sacrifice their whole life for the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And to that people, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was saying, none of you would enter the Jannah based on your deeds. So these Sahaba Ikram took that feedback, and they convinced themselves. They felt that okay, it might be true for the Sahabas. But however, they had a doubt and they were asking him, Anta ya Rasulullah. For us it's fine. But how about you, O Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Because they know that Prophet is special. Because the Prophet is the one whose sins are forgiven, right? The previous sins and the past sins are all forgiven for Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And they asked this question, Anta ya Rasulullah, how about you, O Prophet Muhammad? For that, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam refuted, say that Anta ana. So no, it is no, I am not an exception in this one. Illa yataghammatni Allahu bi rahmatu minhu. Until and unless Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala embraces me with His mercy, I am also I would also not go to the Jannah purely based on my deeds. So this hadith clearly tells that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't look into the quantity of the deeds, rather He looks at the quality of the deed. Furthermore, not just the quality of the deed, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would actually see the way how the people actually interpret the amount of how would they derive at a number of rakahs in salah, whether they do it based on their own will or they follow the sunnah of Prophet Muhammad, right? So any deed would be rewarded only if it has any significance or if it has any relation with respect to the life of Prophet Muhammad, like I initially told you. So we don't have any hesitation in performing 20 rakats of salah, provided it has to at least have one of the roots of the hadith. So either it has to be a commandment of Prophet Muhammad, or it has to be an action of Prophet Muhammad, or in the worst case, at least it has to have a recommendation of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, where Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is seen to not condemn this act when somebody performed 20 rakats of salah. But why did this 20 rakats of salah come into picture? That is something which we need to ponder upon. And for that, there is one narration which is mentioned in Tabrani's Kabir, where it is seen that during the time of Umar radiallahu anhu, certain people actually increased the Salatul Layl to 20 rakats. So this is the only documented news in the historically to have a relevance to arrive at a conclusion that the night salah during the Ramadan is of 20 rakats. There is no other authentic sources of hadith, right? And this actually does not even talk about Umar radiallahu anhu. In the worst case, let's take an example. Even if Umar radiallahu anhu commands us to offer 20 rakats of salah, whereas Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam has asked us to offer 8 rakats of salah, an ideal Muslim, a Muslim who would basically rely upon the teachings of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, should prioritize the teaching of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and not take the teaching of Umar radiallahu anhu. There's no doubt that nobody can match the esteem of Umar radiallahu anhu in the Ummah. We don't even have to debate that one. I perfectly don't have any contention in that one. However, one would actually prioritize the teaching of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam over the teaching of Umar. However, this narration, this particular news which is mentioned in Tabrani, does not even talk about Umar radiallahu anhu commanding 20 rakats of salah. Rather, it is the people's practice. People were practicing like 20 rakats of salah during the regime of Umar radiallahu anhu. So this is the only single thing they try to make this as a loophole and adhere to following something which is not having any relevance to Prophet Muhammad, not having any relevance to even Umar radiallahu anhu, and take that as their deen. So this is totally absurd, and Muslims should not do that one. So now coming back to the actual question, so the maximum rakahs of salah what one can offer during the Ramadan and non-Ramadan nights is maximum of 13 rakats, which includes three rakats of witr. So it can be 8 rakats of Salatul Layl plus 3 rakats of Fitr, like mentioned by Aisha radiallahu anha, or like mentioned by, as narrated by Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu, where Prophet is seen to offer 13 rakats. So I hope this answers the question, and a Muslim should not cross the limits set by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His Messenger, and the Messenger is actually sent to teach us the teachings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Who knows Islam better than Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? And I would like to stress upon the fact that though we would have been thinking to perform more deeds, though we were like eager to get more benefits from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in the past we would have been offering 20 rakats of salah. However, if you go back to the hadiths of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it is imperative that only the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can save us from the hellfire and enter us into the Jannah. So if we have to enter into the Jannah, we should actually try to gain the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And how do we gain the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Is by adhering to the sunnah of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Like the Holy Quran says, Atiullah wa atiur Rasul, obey the Allah and obey His Messenger, la'allakum turhamun, so that you become so that you are blessed. So this is a very beautiful verse from the Holy Quran, and I sincerely urge the Muslim brothers to stick to the sunnah of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and offer not more than 8 plus 3 or 8 plus 3 or 10 plus 3 rakahs during the night of Ramadan, and thereby get the benefit like Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, Man qama Ramadan imanan wa ikhtisaban ghufira lahu ma taqaddam min dhanbihi. Whoever stands during the night of Ramadan and offers the salah, the qiyamul layl, the salatul layl during the night of Ramadan, whoever offers that with full belief and anticipation of the reward from Allah, his previous sins are all forgiven. I sincerely pray that the Ummah takes benefit of this hadith and ensure that this Ramadan, the night prayers in the Ramadan, is in accordance with the Sunnah of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Wa akhir da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. My dear brothers and sisters, and we would pause for today, and inshallah if you have any questions, either with respect to this question or if you have any new question, you can send us your questions to the WhatsApp number 9886 944636. Wa akhir da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.